Good morning, everyone. I hope your day is off to a fantastic start. This morning, I want to talk about snacks. And for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Lianne Phillipson. I'm a registered nutritionist, the author and founder of Sprout Right. Let me go the right way. There's my book just over there. So I've flipped my video around so that you'll be able to read the things that I'm going to show you, because sometimes in a Facebook Live then things get turned around. So as I move, I'm having to go backwards to what's happening on the video. So let's talk about after school snacks. So the kids are coming home after school and they're hungry. They've had a big day. They're looking for something to eat, and it's your job to provide for them. If you're at home or if they're coming home on their own, they need snacks to be able to go ahead and find for themselves. So I've got some fantastic tips, and all of this that I'm going to talk about today are detailed on a blog post on sproutright.com. So you can go and take a peek there. There's also some recipes of the snacks that I'm going to talk about here. So first of all, let's talk after school snacks. Maybe they're coming home, maybe they're going off to the tutors or to a piano lesson, or maybe it's you that's coming home from work and you need some snack ideas too. So there's all sorts of ways to create snacks that are not only filling your belly, but they also really sort of fill your soul too. So they taste good. They make you feel full and nourished, so that you're not going for the sweets and the sugary stuff and the chips and all of those kind of snacks. So some of my top tips, which I've got a lovely list here in front of me. So banana and peanut butter, banana and almond butter. This is just such a quick snack. Just grab a banana, chop it up, dollop on some peanut butter or some almond butter. I do prefer almond butter to peanut butter. Peanut butter is awesome. Almond butter has more essential fats in it, a lot more calcium in it, a lot more minerals in almond butter. So it's a really, really great one that you can offer your kids as something different. You can make the recipes in my book, not only the Rice Crisp squares, but also the Go Faster granola bars, which are an absolute staple recipe from my book. Both of those recipes have almond butter in them as opposed to peanut butter. Now remember that these are after school snacks, so it's not something that you necessarily need to worry about that's going to go out there with your kids to school. If they're going to an activity, maybe make sure that they're having it on their way to the activity. If there's the peanut issue with kids, at gymnastics and things like that you know about, make sure they wash their hands before they head in, so that we're all allergenic safe. You of course can make everything with a sunflower seed butter. Pumpkin seed butter is delicious. It's such a great nut butter that you can use. So yeah, don't hesitate to switch around, but don't always get peanut butter. Try some almond butter, maybe some cashew butter for a bit of a change. Don't forget about a smoothie bowl. Now this is actually something that my daughter does all the time. I always have frozen mango in the freezer. She comes home and she chucks a bunch of mango in. She just puts a little bit of milk. She'll put in some protein powder now too, because I've suggested that there needs to be a protein in there to help to keep her fuller for longer. And if she's going out back to do a million flips, or maybe going off to parkour or doing gymnastics or karate, actually is what she does every day at the moment, then she needs the protein to keep her fuller for longer. So into a bowl goes this big mound of mango. There's also lots of other fruits that I have in the freezer. So there's strawberries, there's cherries, there's blueberries, banana can go into this. So basically you're trying to make a smoothie that is thicker. So it can be eaten with a spoon as opposed to put into a thermos like this one, because this is an insulated thermos, which will keep the smoothie cool if, let's say, that's something I suggest for them to take in between activities, because sometimes they need to have something that's filling in between activities, or let's say they finish school and they're going straight to an activity, or maybe they're heading out to do a crazy soccer tournament or game or something like that. So the smoothie bowl can also go into a container or even into a thermos, and that can go with them too. So all these different stacks are really interchangeable, but making a smoothie bowl, you can also put on some chia seeds or some hemp seeds on top to give them a little bit of crunch. A lot of the time into my smoothies, I'll put in a little bit of raw honey because that's so great for protein, so great for nutrients. And then also into that, I'll add in one of the nut butters that I just mentioned. So a smoothie bowl is just another way to eat a smoothie with all the protein, with all the fiber, the great variety of fruits that you can get in there. Banana works in there really well too. So there's lots and lots of those. So on social media, I think it was yesterday, we posted a mango. I couldn't find a mango that was ripe enough to show you this, but so have a look on Instagram and also on Facebook. You'll see this mango where it's flipped out. So you take half the mango and then you score all the way along. And if anybody's not too sure how to cut a mango, then you hold it up tall, and then you slice just on either side of that really slim seed. So as you slice on either side of that slim seed, then you'll end up just with a piece about that big that's left over, and then you've got the two halves. Then you just score those two halves all the way on the diagonal to make crosses, and then you push and you flip it out. I'm sorry that I don't have a mango to show you because it's really quite cool if you haven't done it before. So when you flip it out, then the kids can just pick it up, and then you can either chop them all off of the skin. That's a really great way to just quickly cube mango, or they can just sit there and just sort of eat it like this, which is a lot of fun for them to do. Depending on their age, you can make smaller cuts or bigger cuts or whatever, but it's just a fun way to say, oh, here's your, you can call it a hedgehog type of mango or something like that. So this is a really great all natural snack. So along with the mango, then maybe they could have one of the high protein foods that I've got to show you in a minute along with that mango, because when you put the carbs and the protein together, it keeps them fuller for longer. Sure, having just some mango is a fantastic thing, or sometimes before I upped the ante on my daughter's smoothie bowl, she was just taking mango and a little bit of milk and then blending it, which not a bad thing. It's great that she's doing that, but there's so much more potential to have some protein in there, some extra nutrients. So a really great, really super great things to do. Grapes, apples, trail mix, or have you come across these? These are dried chickpeas. There's a few different brands out there that you can get, but these are also available from bulk stores. So these little guys are fantastic. Some of them are salted, some of them have different flavors going on with them. I did find these at my local store, the sweet potatoes. So these are some pea pops, they call them, and there's different lightly salted, this one, and this one's wild ranch. So there's a couple of different ones that you can get. Maybe have those in your car, or just with this little container, which I absolutely love. Then that goes on and goes into the lunch. Oh, crash into the lunch bag. Not like that though. Into the lunch bag or the backpack that I've got. The lunch bag that I've got in there behind you. Of course, veggies and dip. Always veggies and dip. Some hummus maybe, or some tzatziki type dip, or guacamole, whatever it is that they like, but they've always got to have veggies and dip as an option. I talk about this vegetable a lot because a lot of people don't even go and grab it. Zucchini. Zucchini growing up, I never liked eating zucchini because it was always really watery and it just didn't work for me. And same sort of thing as eggplant, which I adore now, both of those. But raw zucchini is actually a tremendous vegetable, and it doesn't really have an overpowering taste to it. But it is so good, and it just has enough crunch, not quite as watery as cucumber. So if they're not into cucumber, then maybe try some zucchini and just chop it up and just eat it. Don't cook it necessarily if your kids have said before, or even you don't really like zucchini. Lots of adults don't like zucchini too. It's a great vegetable that won't fall apart, like trying to take avocado anywhere other than in the skin, or as a guacamole doesn't go down so well because it just ends up being mushed and brown and stuff like that. Zucchini is awesome. So of course you've got cucumber, carrots, celery, all sorts of vegetables that you can take with you. Some really quickly blanched or steamed broccoli I find is so well received. Same thing with cauliflower, just to make it a little bit softer and not quite so strong in that raw flavor if your kids aren't completely into absolutely raw. And then of course some Greek yogurt as sort of a parfait. So I tend to go for the Rolling Meadow one because it's grass-fed. A Greek yogurt has much higher protein in it than your traditional yogurt, and always buy plain and add your own stuff to it. Get out the blueberries from the freezer. Get a fruit spread. I didn't bring that onto my desk. A fruit spread, which I'll talk about in a little bit on the pancakes, has it is sweetened with fruit juice. Some of them you gotta read the label a little bit better now because some of the brands call it sort of a fruitish spread, but there's still a bunch of sugar in there. So there are some which are just sweetened with fruit juice. Now I'm not saying you have to get away from jam, but wow, when you go and taste a fruit spread versus a jam, it's like you can immediately feel your teeth getting furry from the jam. There is so much sugar in jams that it's just crazy. Now, if you've got a child or yourself who prefers having that sweet, then maybe just kind of work up to it. Add a little bit of maple syrup to your plain yogurt. Put in, sprinkle on some chia seeds or some hemp seeds because that gives it a lot more fiber as well. It can be chopped up banana. Lately in my chia pudding, I had some grapes left over, so I threw in some chopped up grapes. It was delicious. Same thing with kiwi. I picked up a whole bunch of the golden kiwis, which are a lovely change to the green kiwis. They're just a bit smoother, and the skin, my daughter just washes it and eats the whole thing, eats skin and all, which I still wasn't too sure if that was okay. But anyway, she just did it one day. So many different fruits can go into things like yogurt, can go into even, cottage cheese is a fantastic thing. So those are some suggestions for some great after school snacks and also are really transportable. So what I really wanted to focus on today, because after a recent trip in the summertime, my daughters and I went to Australia, and my niece, who is an avid dancer, she's so incredibly talented. She went into this competition. There are these 9 to 11-year-olds who are out there on stage doing these crazy 3 to 5 minute performances, and they just go. They get on that stage and they don't stop until they almost drop. And it was fascinating to watch because these kids they're rehearsing just before, then they're waiting and waiting and waiting. This is like a whole day event that my niece was a part of. And partway through, I could see so many of the dancers, their energy just taking a nosedive. And I thought, what is going on with these kids and their food? And then I talked to my sister and said, well, when was the last time that she ate? I know she's got her water bottle. Is there anything juicy going on in there? I always have my water bottle wherever I happen to be going. And there's things like glutamine, which is an amino acid that can go into water to keep the kids really full, not full, but keep them with some energy. I do happen to have one here in all of my lovely looking, sorry, I think I just knocked my desk. So this is a glutamine powder. When I'm working out, I put this into my water, and it gives me more energy throughout the time while I'm working out. It also helps to put energy back into my muscles and keeps my immune system really, really strong. So by looking at all of these dancers and all these kids that are doing all of these things, then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they've got to have better nutrition, something that's easy for them to consume. They don't feel too full, but it's giving them the energy so that they can keep going. And then in my research, these kids who are going out on the soccer field or the soccer pitch, as we say in England, when they're out on the pitch and they're doing whatever it is that they can burn up to 400 calories while they're running their little legs off, or they're dancing their legs off, or they're basketballing one end to the other, and all of these kind of things. That is a lot of energy expended, especially towards the end of a day when they've already been at school, they've already had their their gym or being outdoors, or both my kids right now are in cross country, or my older daughter's running in cross country today, so I'm all about the nutrition. What are you going to have now? What are you going to have just before? Put the glutamine into your water. It's got to be in there, so she's got just a surge, just a push beforehand. So some of those snacks really need to be quite specific. So I already talked a little bit about the smoothie bowl and the insulated. This bottle is more of a thermos insulated type of type of bottle, and the smoothie can go in there so it stays cool. There's nothing worse than a super thick, kind of warm, yucky sort of smoothie. Because the protein powder needs to go in here, I don't suggest that you go crazy on the chia seeds. Flax seeds will just make this into more of a jelly consistency. So when kids are taking something like that out, just be careful with those seeds that you're putting in there. So the smoothie is just fantastic. It hits so many nutrition check boxes, from the protein to the fiber to the antioxidants, because as soon as you go out there and do any exercise, it's creating something called oxidative stress in our bodies. It just happens. I'm not saying don't do it for the oxidative stress. You just need those antioxidants to help to balance that situation. So also really, really important. So the active kids need something more than, more than just the mango. In my opinion, they need a little bit more. So one of my favorite things that I make at home, this is definitely something you need to make, is I've got this box here. Let me see if I can get this around the right way. So my little dates have just fallen. So these are blender pancakes. These are fantastic to go into a bento box like this. I believe this is the O bento. This one has got, depends on what kind of box that you want to give to your kids. I've got so many different lunchbox, snack box type things, really important, because if you're going between situations, between school and then going somewhere else, or maybe you've got a big drive coming up, then you need something like this. It'll go well in their lap. Anyway, these muffins here don't really look like anything. Cook them a little bit longer, which is why they're a bit darker around the side. These are flourless, high protein muffins. There is no flour in this at all. There's bananas, there's a cup of peanut butter. Again, you could try using an almond butter. I do put little chocolate chips in here, and this is how they look on the inside. They are so dense and so filling and so fantastic, and you'll find the recipe on sproutright.com on the most recent blog post on active kids and their fuel. This little number is a date. Some dates are like, love them, or, oh, not so sure about that. So we've just got a date here. I've taken the seed out of the center and I've piled in some coconut oil. This is something that I eat before I'll go to the gym for a little bit more energy, or maybe I'm going for a slightly longer run. Then I will pop the coconut oil in here. So this is a carbohydrate-rich snack, and then the fat that's in here slows down the release of the carbohydrate. And because of the coconut oil, because of the type of fat that it is, it's used by the liver. So it's used as energy really quickly. So the date with the coconut oil is a fantastic thing. And then the other thing that I have here, which also doubles as a bit of a dinner, are the blender pancakes. And on top of the blender pancake here that we can see, I've piled on some ricotta cheese. That's actually a sheep's ricotta cheese. You can use whichever one you like. And then some fruit spread in the middle. So they can have peanut butter and honey on them. They could have a fruit spread and almond butter on them. It doesn't matter, but these blender pancakes are, again, they're dense. They're oats. They're just oats. You put oats, the recipe is on sproutright.com. You put oats into the blender, you put the egg, the milk, what else goes in there? The cinnamon, some honey, and then you blend it. And then I get out my griddle, and then I just sit there and I just pour as large of a pancake as you like. You can use that instead of bread, make a sandwich, put the two of them together, and then the kids can just eat them. They are so delicious. They freeze really, really well. And they're not your typical sort of flour and egg and milk pancake. They're really dense, and they do keep the kids going for much longer. So do look out for the blender pancakes and the muffins, which are in here. These are all homemade options. The recipe for the muffins makes 12 muffins. And while my kids can plow through, a good 2 of them, even though they're really dense, once I've had one, combine it with maybe some grapes or something like that, I am good to go. I'm really feeling quite good and quite sustained. Then also we've got the roasted chickpeas that I talked about. Any bean dip, there's some bean dips out there. I haven't tried them yet, but I came across a recipe that had bean dip with another almond butter in it, with a nut butter in it. So even though I keep talking about all these nut butters, it's really such a tremendous food to give your kids because they keep them fuller for longer. The fat, yes, has a lot more calories. So if someone's on a weight restricted diet, you know, I'm not talking about kids necessarily, so it's something to just maybe measure out as opposed to go crazy with. But all of the foods that I'm talking about here that have the nut butters in them are amazing for keeping them fuller for longer, because as soon as you pick them up and they've finished their soccer or whatever, they could honestly just fall onto the floor because they are so tired and they're so exhausted. So sometimes we need some quick grab and go, gotta go to the store, just gotta buy stuff. Lianne, it's great that you're making all of these foods, but I just don't have time. So my favorite and my go-to right now are the Cliff Organic, the kids Z-Bar filled. Here we've got the first one here. This is the apple and almond with cashew butter. I actually just read something about taking this out of the package and quickly warming it up. And it's just like a kind of like a, you know, an apple, not an apple pie, but that kind of thing. So these kids Z-Bar filled bars are, in my opinion, they came out, they're quite new. They are fantastic because they're made with oats, just like the blender pancakes. So they're slow releasing carbohydrates. They're also made with Canadian oats, which I love because then we know our rules and regulations in terms of GMOs and farming and all of those kind of things. And then also the sugar content of this is the same as half a banana. Now, you know, whenever I talk about bars or anything like that, you can go back and scroll back in the Facebook Lives that I've talked about with bars and sugar and things like that, because it can be really crazy. Kids can be blowing their sugar intake in one fell swoop with some sort of bar or drink or something like that. So these ones, because of the sugar content that's in them, is absolutely fantastic. So they're not getting those spikes. They're not getting the highs that are going on. And there's only 130 calories. So it's actually my new go-to snack because I do love the nut butter filled bars. These ones they're marketed or they're more for kids because of the size. So the bars are this big. There's my favorite is the double peanut butter. I've got into peanut butter a lot more lately. And then there's also the chocolate peanut butter as well. So there's 3 different varieties of these, whatever it is that your kids like. I have them sitting in the car all the time. I've got them in my bag. I've got them in the girls' bag, you know, like the karate bag, which my daughter hauls everywhere in something like, you know, the big backpack that they're taking with them with all their gear in it. You've got to put in the water bottle, has to go in the side and be washed out and refilled. Then they can take anything else and then just stick it in their bag. But I just love having the bars in the side because as soon as they leave whatever it is that they're doing, then they're like, I've got my water, I've got, you know, they stick their backpack on their backs, they've got my water, I've got my bars, I'm good to go. And then, because my kids are a bit older, 13 and 15, sometimes they're going to their activities on their own. But if you're picking them up and, you know, you've got to get something into them quick and you didn't get to make the muffins, you didn't get to make the blender pancakes, and you're just a little bit stuck, then it is so handy to just have something to grab, even just like those, these guys, the pea pots that I was talking about too. So so get yourself some of these because they're just fantastic. And Cliff just sent me this fantastic little bag that I have over my shoulder too, which I absolutely love. So we also have a special promo. I've got a few boxes hanging around. So if you comment below under this Facebook Live, then I haven't seen any comments popped up. If anybody has made any comments, I'm not seeing them pop up on my screen just yet. So I will come back to them just in case you are actually commenting, or if anybody wants to throw out a comment, and then I'll see if it pops up on my screen. Then if you want to comment below on what's the equivalent amount of sugar that is in a Cliff Kids Z Bar nut butter filled, then I want to know how much. What's the equivalent sugar? What did I just say a little while ago? You can scroll back a little bit on this. So just comment below for a chance to win a few of these great boxes and some coupons so that you can go out and get some for yourself. So do check out the Kids Z Bar filled. All right, on the go dinner ideas. Oh, thank you, Amelia. Yes, very good, Tanya. So thank you very much for that. So I'm seeing your comments there. Okay, so let's talk about some on the go dinner ideas. So as well as everything else that I've already talked about, sometimes those blender pancakes are the perfect thing to have on the go. They're easy because they're easy to pick up. You can stick two together and make a sandwich. Those are tremendous. Another box that I have sitting here, let me get the name of this right. Yes, the O Bento box is this one. So I've got a lovely color here. So this is a fantastic on the go snack as well. So this is a tuna melt. So you can do salmon, and then so what I actually do with this that my kids love, and I kind of amped it up the last time that I did it, was I added in some dill pickles. My mom used to do that when we were growing up. Sometimes cucumber works fantastic as well, but the dill pickles just give it a little bit of a different taste. So I mix all of take a whole tin of tuna, I do put a little bit of mayo. I've got a veggie mayo that I love, or vegan mayo that I love right now. And I just add that in, get it to a nice consistency, stick it on top of the bread. Last week on Jerry Agar, on my regular radio segment, I talked about the best type of breads to be having, because bread is a really useful thing. Bread straight out on its own, lots of carbs, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with bread. Your traditional white bread, don't even bother. So I talked about some of the really great sourdough breads that I recommend. So you can jump over to LiannePhillipson.com or on social media on Instagram, LiannePhillipson.com, my other brand, where I talk for a little bit more adult type stuff, although bread's for absolutely everybody. So on the bottom here, I have one of the Rudolph multigrain actually is what I've got on the bottom here. And then you put some cheese, melted cheese on top, and then stick it under the broiler, and it's good to go. And this is fantastic eaten cold. It's fine if it's not super hot. And then of course we've got some veggies down the bottom here. And again, this is just so great to have on their lap where they can eat it in the car. You know, not ideal to be eating in the car, but sometimes that's just how it is. You leave after school, or you leave early in the morning because you're going to a cheer tournament somewhere in Niagara or something like that. And you've got to have great containers, great things that hold the food, where you can put a dip in one and veggies in the other and something like that. And if it's sitting on their lap and you're traveling and you're chatting and all those kind of things, and it's just so great to have something like that. My son is 16 months old, loves sprouted and seed type breads. I love that. As soon as you get those seeds in there, it just creates a whole other situation. Ezekiel bread's fantastic. Silver Hills is fantastic, but more of the supermarket type of one that you're going to pick up. Something that has whole wheat on the label, really important. Also making sure that there isn't any sugar in it, because we don't need sugar in bread. Really, and sourdough is much easier on the digestive system, liberates far more nutrients. So really, really great to go and try and find those ones. So here I've also got a fantastic thermos. I kind of have to hold these things up because I can't move my phone and camera. So in here I've got some rice-based pasta. You can also use the chickpea pasta. That's another great high fiber food. I tend to put pesto on top of the noodles. I'll make a big batch of noodles. I'll put them in a container. Then I put them into the fridge. And then in the morning, my kids, when they're making their lunch or getting ready or something like that, or I'll do it too, then we boil the kettle and we pour on top of the noodles. We pour boiling water and then get a slotted spoon and take them out, fill it up. That is the fastest way to make pasta first thing in the morning. And then here I had some sausages and I just chopped them up and I threw them in the frying pan. And then that is the meat component, or the more protein type component for this particular thermos. And it is just fantastic. So so that's a really, really great one to be going on with. So Stacy Roberts, I'm like, I have to hit see more. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read all of your comments, Stacy, but my 7-year-old daughter's multiple food allergies, tree nuts, sesame, fish, dairy, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower. That is a really tricky one. I will read down further when I hit see more right now, Stacy. I can't see everything, so I will type in some recommendations if that's where you're going with all of these, because pretty much most of the things that I've talked about so far have been part of the list that you've just typed out there, but I can't see everything. It just says see more, and if I hit that, then it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so back to I've got another box here to show you. So this some of the newer boxes, I'm just going to point it out with this one. So this is all silicone around here. I've got a couple of these ones. This is like a little lovely here we go, Little Mermaid one. But when they have this genius, because while I love the Lunchbots and these, you know, metal ones that are like this, then they do leak. So if you put something in there that's a little bit more watery, then it definitely is going to leak. So I've got this beautiful sparkly one here too. So these guys, I don't have anything in this one. This was just to show you. So all of this is the silicone that's going on, here. I keep saying that my connection's going, so I hope you guys can still hear me okay. So in this one, I have some little pitas, which are fantastic, some whole wheat pitas, a hard-boiled egg. You would obviously really take the shell off of it, and just a little bit of broccoli. So it's a fantastic one to throw into your lunch bag and then head off. So this guy closes down, and it really just, there's nothing's going to get from one compartment to the other, as well as kind of move around, and they're not going to end up with a little bit of whey from the yogurt, you know, with that liquid is called whey. When that kind of moves around a little bit, you're not going to end up with that making the pitas all really soggy. So fantastic for making sure that you can get those that have that little bit of silicone on there. Like I said, I love the metal ones, the Lunchbot style ones, but if you put something in there and then they go in the bottom of the bag, or they get tipped up because they're going into like the So Young lunch bag that I have back here, then stuff is gonna, you know, it's just different. It's better for slightly drier. The blender pancakes that I showed you with the ricotta on top, that's another fantastic dinner. We've got the tuna melt. Please make sure that your kids are always going out of the house with hydration. So here is a fantastic bottle, kid size, not too heavy. And then I love this So Young carrier as well. This can be clipped onto the backpack. Goes in here if they don't necessarily have those things on the side, or maybe you're just heading out with the lunch bag. This can go along with them if it doesn't fit in. And then I love the bicycle on here too, because it just speaks activity and all that kind of stuff too. And kids love those kind of things too. So any other comments or questions, please stick them in here. I've gone on a little bit longer, into about over half an hour, I believe, but I hope that this information has been valuable, because snacking is a part of the day. It's a part of the food intake. And while you think, oh, I'm just gonna have a snack, just gonna go for something sweet or whatever, or, you know, some kids are real snackers. They need to have their snacks. They walk in the door at the end of the day, or if you're going out for the day with your younger child who's not at school yet. I'm talking a lot about after school and activities and things like that. But the younger kids and the toddlers, they need constant snacks, and you have to look at that so that you know that it's part of their 24-hour intake. So snacks are really, really important for, you know, a snack could be like a mini dinner, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon snack, let's call it, could be more substantial than their dinner, because typically we don't really need to sit down and have the massive plate of food. Parents that kind of think that sort of thing are often disappointed with kids of different ages, because by the time they get there, they're just past it. They don't really actually want anything, or maybe they actually want like a snacky dinner. So something like, you know, the bento box type of situation with the tuna melt, maybe that is something that they actually really want to have. So so use the containers and say, here's your after activity, after basketball, after parkour, after karate, or whatever it is that your kids are doing. Then here's what you get to have afterwards. You know that it's in the fridge. I can warm it up if you need to, but you know, there's so many different ways to present the food. There's so many different ways to make it easy on yourself as the parent making all of the food. And take some, go check out the blog on sproutright.com and have a look and see whatever else it is that your kids might like. Print it off and say, here are some ideas for you that that Lianne suggested. What is it that you want? There's also a breakfast television segment where I talked a little bit about all of these things too, but more in a 4-minute segment rather than talking about it for half an hour. So Amelia, what kind of pre-dinner snack do you suggest that will not throw off dinner for a toddler? And then I've also got a see more under there. So I'll if I don't answer this now, then I'll check what the see more says. So a pre-dinner snack can be part of dinner. So if you're making vegetables for dinner, the pre-dinner snack could be part of those vegetables. And then you don't necessarily have to worry about them scoffing them all during dinner, because especially with toddlers, there's a time when they get to a place where I'm done. I'm not going to eat as much as I would have an hour or an hour and a half ago. Okay, and timing. So probably somewhere around an hour and a half before. If dinner is at about 5 o'clock, you definitely want to be having something sort of mid-afternoon around 3 or 3:30. Really depends with the toddler on their nap schedule and all of those kind of things. And of course, if they're having milk, then that makes up as a bit of a snack, but something like, like some yogurt with some granola, low sugar granola on top of it with the fruit spread all mixed up. That's a fantastic snack. And that kind of comes into, you're thinking of what is the day like, especially with a toddler. You have to think of what is the day all about. It's not just meal by meal by meal, because what lunch looks like actually doesn't really matter. What is most important is what's the consumption of food throughout the day. So breakfast is some eggs or, all sorts of different options, which there's a really great post on breakfast ideas. If on sproutright.com you type in blender pancakes, then in that post, where I've got about 3 or 4 different breakfast options on there, on that blog post, really great ideas. Chia pudding is fantastic. They can have chia pudding, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if they didn't have it earlier in the day, because it's such a tremendous snack. And that's the same thing for us too. It's not just about toddlers. If you think, oh my God, I need a snack now, I want to crawl under my desk, I'm at work, I've got to keep going, and then I got to get home, and then I got to make dinner, and your own nutrition is so incredibly important as well, and making sure that you've had something, and your snack of vegetables that you were going to eat at dinner. It's great to have 5 to 10 servings a day, but have them. Just eat them. It doesn't matter that it's a snack food. You could have a tuna melt at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then eat something lighter at nighttime. When I'm dealing with my clients and kind of weight management, a little bit more under LiannePhillipson.com, then I'm always talking about making sure that you're finishing your meals earlier and early enough in the night so your body has 12 hours to detoxify overnight. I'm not talking about toddlers or anything like that. I'm talking about us. So have that huge snack at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if that's your time when you're more hungry. Andrea, I think I know the answer, but what about the cheese strings and the yogurt things like iGo-Go or iGo? I don't know how to pronounce that one. I'm going to get my lips around that one. The cheese strings are fine. It's mozzarella cheese, so they just somehow managed to get it into that form. And the yogurt drinks, just look at the sugar. Look at the sugar content. Those are really quick, easy things to grab, a lot like the Cliff Bars. So gotta make the best of the grab and go situation. Looking at all the different bars that are out there, the Cliff ones for me rank into something that I'm definitely going to eat myself and take with me. I don't have too much dairy, so the cheese strings are not really something that I ever had, but go and have a look. Read the ingredients. There should really only just be milk and, those kind of things, a rennet or something like that in there. Make sure there's no colors in there. Make sure it's the white one. And the yogurt drinks, you just have to check the content of the sugar and the ingredients and all of those kind of things and weigh it up, which has less in it. If you're not just taking your own yogurt, a Greek yogurt, making that into some sort of parfait or something like that you're taking on the go. All right, any other questions quickly? Awesome, thank you, very, very welcome. Any other questions for anybody that's watching this rather long video, sorry, after the fact, please post them down below. I always put this video also on YouTube, so if anybody wants to share this, of course, please do. Within Facebook, invite your friends along to be a part of the Spurtright community. I always love that. And then also it'll be up on YouTube as well. And go and try any of the suggestions that I've talked about today, and don't feel overwhelmed by all the things that I've shown you. Oh my God, I've got to go and cook and make and all of those kind of things. Check out the blog on spurtright.com, and then we can definitely get you cooking in a really, really easy way. So that you've got all sorts of stuff. Amelia, can you book a session? Of course you can, absolutely. I'll reach out to you with a message afterwards, or of course just reach out to Lianne at spurtright.com, and I'll get back to you. We'll get something organized for you to go over anything and everything. Of course, I do a lot of consulting, which can be face-to-face in my Bloor West home office, which is where I am now, or of course it can always be on the phone or video chat, depending on where you are. Work into those toddler nap times as well. I do a lot of consulting when the kids are asleep having a nap, or if they're out at school or something like that. So we make it work for everyone. All right, thank you so much for being along, and thanks for hanging in for a slightly longer chat this morning. It's a different time today at 9 o'clock. I just had something else going on a little bit later, but this actually seems to be a really good time. So perhaps in the future, then the 9 o'clock Facebook Lives, when I do these about once a month, will be a time. And then also I'm thinking of starting just like a question and answer thing, kind of bring your questions, and then I'll just sit here and answer them all for you. So thank you so much again, and any other questions, we're here for you. All right, have a beautiful day. Oh, hang on. We've got 13-month-old child. I'm going to answer that one again, just because I've got to see more. For my next Facebook Live, I'll figure out how to see your whole comment when I do this for you. Perhaps I'll have my computer up at the same time so I can see all of it. But I'll type it in a response or do a quick video for you there. Thank you, and have a beautiful and super healthy day. Bye.